Welcome to the Back to Me podcast, where we help multicultural incoming freshman women and men manage their entire college experience throughout post-graduation to successfully transition into entrepreneurship and corporate workspaces as new hires.
Back to me. Oh, I turned it around. I'm back to me. I finally figured it out. I'm back to me. So when you think you have nothing, back to me. I go back to me. Yeah, I'm back to me.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Yoli Tamu. It's our third annual Divine Nine series, How Sororities and Fraternities Support Mental Health Awareness. Justin Key, Beta Xi chapter member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, joins us to discuss the importance of mentoring elementary school students who are increasingly suffering due to the stress of cyberbullying, low grades, shooting drills, and disciplinary action at their young age. Mr. Key, a creative multi-hyphenate, is an actor, entertainment business, and entrepreneurship consultant who is also an author and a highly sought-after international speaker. Find out how this 2019 Black Enterprise Magazine Man of Distinction protects his mental health while serving various communities around the world. Enjoy. Wow, we have our first fraternity member of the Divine Nine, the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Mr. Justin Key. How you doing, Justin?
You know what? I'm doing good. We got some good weather here in LA finally for the year, so it's a good day.
I love it. I love it. I'm so glad that we reconnected. I mean, you were the one that helped me put my toe in this whole speaking game.
I mean, you say toe, you jumped in full force. Like you dived off that like you were in the Olympics. And I'm here for it. Look at us now though.
How about it? Oh my God. Blessings. Full circle.
Full circle. Definitely full circle.
All right. Well, I'm so glad to have you every year. This is our third year, and we're celebrating the Divine Nine. And as the first of the Divine Nine, so happy to know that you're available because you are a busy man, busy man.
I mean, booked and blessed. I am definitely happy about that.
Yes. So for this series, we usually focus on mental health awareness. And I wanted to just kind of jump in, your background as an actor and a student mentor is how I came to know you. And you're an entrepreneur consulting, doing so many things. I just wanted to know how and who motivated you to serve students. How did that start for you?
Yeah, first, thank you. And yeah, I'm at this very interesting intersection, like being a multi-creative, multi-hyphenate. So being a mathematician, an actor, an entrepreneur. And I use all of those avenues to mentor and to show representation to the younger generation because I didn't have it. And like a lot of people, I grew up in a very small rural farm community. And as a kid, I wanted to move to LA and I wanted to be in entertainment. But I had to feed the hogs before the bus came in the morning. I learned how to drive a tractor before a car. We killed our own animals. We had our own smokehouse, grow our own food. So that world was so vast and so different. I didn't know that many people that even moved from Tennessee. So moving to California was just this big feat. And so because I was able to do it without necessarily a blueprint or mentors who knew how, I decided to create that lane for others.
My goodness. I mean, when you tell me that you're a country boy, I didn't know literally.
Country. Like we wore overalls to church country. Yeah, country.
I love this. Okay, so now you've done so many sketches that people know about that know you with your mom. Is that part of the influence of mentorship?
Exactly. So I have this incredible series called Mama Knows Best because I have such an incredible relationship with my mama. I'm the eighth of 9 kids, and I am the only one not in Tennessee. And my mama feels that because I'm so nice and that people always think I'm so nice and treats me so nice. She was like, well, I want to make sure you stay humble. I'm like, mama, you ain't got to get me together every single time you feel like it. But she's like, no, I am. And I was like, this just don't make no sense. But we have a good time and it's done out of love. And she's one of those black mamas that's like a Southern belle with that quick wit. It's not gonna let you get by. And it's a good time. It's a good time.
Well, you're so smart. You took that and, man, you made something very special out of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now you've told me, and I met you when we were together for a panel discussion. I think it was in Linwood School.
Yeah, and then what?
Yeah, and you've also helped elementary students. So, wow, did you start with elementary kids and then moved up to high schoolers?
Initially I started with college, which was my very first speaking engagement was at a college. And so then I always had this dream of being the commencement speaker for my elementary school, like which is like deep, deep in the country. And when I got the opportunity to do that, ooh, it blew my mind. These kids were so smart. They were so sharp. These kids in elementary school on the internet like that, the fact that they knew my story. They asked questions like, "You sure you from here? Because you sound kind of weird, mister." And I'm like, "I sound kind of weird." And so they were like, "Well, I think I want to come to Hollywood too." And I was like, "Well, come on. Like, I mean, just, and then doing that and being around that younger demographic opened my mind to say that we don't have to start like, speaking and mentoring students when they're 19 and 20. We need to start younger. We can really influence them because we see how negative influences, especially with social media and all the things that's happening in society, really these things get kids early and shape their mindsets and experiences early. So I figured I need to start early doing this mentorship work so that I can help combat some of the negative connotations and things that are coming their way.
Mhm, mhm, absolutely, and the fact that you knew that to start very, very young, or to go to the very, very young was important. I mean, I think I was telling you that I went to a college tour and they were talking about that, the school to prison pipeline starts as early as 3rd grade. Have you heard that, or how do you feel about that?
I have heard it, and what the researchers have said now is that that's an urban myth. The third grade specifically is an urban myth. And what we typically know about urban myths is that it's stated now, but then data is going to come out in a couple of years to say that is true. So we haven't had the data to prove it's third grade. But what the study from Harvard University says is that students being disciplined in school, in elementary school, is a telltale sign of the school to prison pipeline. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me you start disciplining students, specifically students of color, black and brown students, early in elementary school, and then like creating their records while 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. And then all of a sudden, about when they're preteens, they're in the system, gone. It's absolutely ridiculous and infuriating. And it pisses me off to no max. And I don't know if you heard the story a couple of years ago about the judge in Philly who was getting kickbacks from private prisons for every single student or male kid that he sent to a private prison. And I mean, he was throwing them back and forth. I mean, just throwing them back and forth. I mean, just sending them off. The smallest infraction, 3 years, 5 years. I'm like, how did he get away with this for so long? But once again, black and brown kids, they're the afterthought of society.
Wow. Look, speaking of stuff like that, we got, interesting character down there in Florida, Ron DeSantis.
First of all, now look, I heard this week with Ron DeSantis. So, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, got this battle with Disney because the owner of Disney and just the entity spoke against his don't say gay policy, as well as just the attacks on the LGBTQ community, plus just marginalized folk altogether. And so he's been on an all out war with Disney. And Disney is Florida's largest private employer of Florida residents. And they have all this land that Disney has actual say so over. Like they have the power over this land. And so in the fight against Disney, first of all, he handpicked a committee that actually gave Disney this power over this land. So he just restructured the whole committee. He handpicked each, and they're now going to vote on what to do with the land. And he's trying to take it from Disney and had the audacity. This land could go for anything, like even prisons. I was infuriated. So that's what you're doing? You already spoke at the NRA conference last week, and now you're talking about this land could potentially be used for prisons? Man, get out of here.
Oh my God. It's like they're just being bold about it. I mean, Ava DuVernay did a whole documentary on what you're talking about, 13th Amendment, and here we are watching it play out. That's craziness. Now, I was thinking about when we talked earlier about your elementary speaking opportunities, that you notice there's a lot of stress on an elementary level.
I was shocked. Now, completely different world than what we grew up in. My stress was I got to be in church all day on Sunday. When we go to church at 9:30 in the morning for Sunday school, we get home at 6 o'clock. That was my stress. Maybe light bullying and things like that. But these kids are stressed. And first of all, bullying has taken on a whole new level because of social media. And so just thinking about that, they're terrified because of grades. And also, they're now having shooter drills in school. We just had tornado drills. So now they have tornado drills, shooting drills. And it's like, what? You're seeing your classmates get shot. What type of services are there? Are mental health services available for these students? Because we think they're so resilient. But we now see this as when they become adults, like these fractured lives and adults that they are rearing. And it's like, these kids are stressed out about life. And also, because of the economy and the cost of living, school is actually some of the only places where kids get meals. And it's just so heartbreaking because even here in Los Angeles, where I'm based, when the teachers went on strike a couple of weeks ago, well, the schools still stayed open so the students could come and eat. And I'm so glad that they actually do that when things like that happen. But it's just a telltale sign that something needs to happen. You worried about food, you worried about someone coming in and shooting you, you worried about thinking about, the school to prison pipeline. Are your parents even safe? Police brutality, just being judged on social media for every single thing. And this is on a 7-year old, an 8-year old. It's stressful being a grown man and having to think about that. But can you imagine as kids whose brains haven't even developed? It's just wild to even think about that.
And then you were also telling me they're suicidal at that age. I'm like, really? Wow. Elementary school?
Yes. So the suicide rate amongst kids, it's just wild. And as a kid, and I was telling you, as a kid, that didn't come to my mind. Like bullying was stressful and farm work and feeding pigs and things of that nature, but the fact that these kids are actually considering suicide, and it's just wow, it blows your mind. It says demographic data included 134 children. It's like 75% was male and like 50% were white. And then you look at these numbers and it says like the ones that have committed suicide, 78.4 were with hanging. So 78% of the kids' suicide rate, they do it by hanging. And it's like, what? Like to even think about it and then think of it as a way like that with being 8 years old. And the number increases for Black and brown students. And I'm like, we're just being attacked on every end, which is why more mentorship, more representation. It's not going to be easy. We know it's not. But that's why I encourage so many people to increase their platform. I don't care if you're just a cashier at Walmart. Please go back to your elementary school. I taught college in person for 5 years, and I taught graduating seniors. And I said, one thing that I want you to do as a gift to me, when you graduate with your degree, please go back to your elementary school. These kids need to see. And I was like, well, I really haven't done anything. I said, you moved to Los Angeles and you got this degree and you're working in entertainment. That's a big deal. Don't let LA and social media make it seem like you're not doing anything. You are literally that inspiration for that kid. Who was you 10, 17, 5 years ago? So be that representation. And so they're like, yeah, now that you think about it, you're right. You're right.
That's so powerful what you're saying. Everybody has a story. You're so right.
Everyone has a story. And I think that story, it leads to change. And, especially when you go back to where you're from and you're like, I was literally in your shoes. Like it may be difficult for, like, if you grew up with money and nothing's wrong with that, I'm going to be trying to figure out, well, how does that compare to me who grew up with nothing? But if I see my teacher saying, oh, yeah, Justin was in my class, just like y'all, little knucklehead itself. And I was like, wait, you did this? Because they want specifics. So when you graduated, like, did you go to school? Did you need to go to school? Someone asked me, how much did it cost your first plane ticket to go to LA? I was like, compared now, I thought it was $1 million back then. I think it's like $234 for a round trip from Memphis to LA. And like they need these specifics.
Yes. Very powerful stuff. My goodness. And so as a mentor and you're speaking, you have a book and you're in there transforming young minds. So can you tell us about this book?
I never in my life thought that I would write a book. And I wrote this book, I finished it in 2017. It's called Mind Control: Change the Way You Think So You Can Live a Limitless Life. I wrote the book, I talked myself out of publishing it, and I saved it in my computer and was done with it. I get a Facebook message from a woman that I had never met before. She messaged me and she said, Justin, she said, I know we don't know each other, but I've been following you for a while. And I'm not saying this because I am a book editor, but I'm saying this because I'm a book editor. You need a book. I didn't even respond to her. I found her on LinkedIn, found her company's email address, emailed her the manuscript and said, send me a invoice. She responded back immediately. You've been sitting on a book this entire time? Published the book a year later, and I got an email from the publisher that I was a top 10 bestseller
Wow.
in 1 month, complete sobs, because it just reminded me that once again, everyone has a story and we don't know how it will affect people, even ourselves. Tell your story, be out there. And so with my book, I focus on multiple themes, but the first theme is a growth mindset. You have to expand your mindset. We're now in a global society more than ever. So you could be sitting in class with a student from Hong Kong or a student from Europe or a student from South Africa or East Africa. And it's like now we have to expand our mindsets to be able to really gather this global information and this global knowledge because that's what's going to make us successful. And no, growth is uncomfortable. We often hear about that, and it really is. We have to unlearn a lot. And kids are in the best position to do that. They're way more accepting before adults come in and throw in that type of bias. So we have that growth mindset. And then the second theme is like your tribe of friends, the family that you choose, like making sure you have those people around you who you can talk to, who can support you and who you can support. And I think even that's been one of my secret weapons of being in Los Angeles. Because in August of this year, it'll be my 17th year in Los Angeles. And one of those secret weapons is the tribe that I've created. Like I surround myself with incredible human beings whose character is just solid as a gold plate or vibranium, if you will. Shout out to Wakanda. And then really just service to others. I always say that other people's success is dependent on you living your own. Because if I didn't see people do things when I was down, like, oh, that's an actual career? Oh, that person seems really nice. Oh, I heard that talk. So that's why I want people to go out. So even seeing you on that panel, showing out, looking great, talking about your experience, smiling, letting your glow. I saw them kids in the audience. Like, oh my goodness, natural hair like me. Like it's like, ooh, she looked like me. Just like being that representation and having a story that is somewhat in tandem or just inspiring and motivating. You literally just motivated the next president of the US or, the director of the United Nations or like all these different titles that we've never heard of, but somehow you sparked that creativity into someone else.
Let them know what's possible. Very cool. So growth mindset. What else could they expect from your book?
Growth mindset, learning how to choose your friends because your tribe is really important, and also how to serve others. And it'll look different from others. Maybe your service is kids. Maybe your service is adults. Maybe your service is to the elderly. Maybe your service is within the entertainment industry, or it could be within education, or it could be in international policy. You have options. Matter of fact, we are such a dynamic race that I think it's important to know that there are no limits. You don't have to do what you're doing just in California or just in the States or just in North America. See the world. they sending people to space. So why can't you go to North Africa? Why can't you go to Paris and do all these different things? Like go explore the world. Yeah. And plant seeds while you're doing it.
How powerful. So this book was written with who in mind? Did you have that young student in mind, or who did you have in mind when you were writing?
Yes, I had the younger Justin because I wanted to have these really egoic dreams and goals, and I wanted to serve. I wanted to see the world. And it was like, well, you're a country boy. Like, we got an old Ford Model TV. We didn't even have cable. Like, I was watching Saved by the Bell and Beverly Hills 90210, just seeing all these different shows. And it's like, I want that, but I don't know how. And I realized it was mindset. I thought it possible. And because I thought it possible, I was able to maneuver until it became my reality.
Mm, powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. And so you also told me this book is in schools, right?
Yeah. So schools reached out, libraries reached out. I was like, wait, it's in the library? And it was like, oh, can you come and do a book signing? I was like, in a library? Like, I was like, y'all, me? I'm like, y'all, and then I will say, I always revert back to, that country boy and the farmer's like, now y'all sure? Y'all sure y'all got the right person? And then I'm just like, just humbled and grateful that it's continuing to make rounds. Just it's a small but powerful book.
I love it. It is mind control.
Mind control. Change the way you think so you can live a limitless life.
Yep. That's the key. That's the bottom line with all this mental health awareness is to have control of our minds.
Because one of the components of mental health is being able to control your thoughts. And that comes with, what you are allowing in, who you are allowing to affect certain things. Like I'm off social media. I'm off all the traditional social media. I'm on LinkedIn. And I realized that I wasn't even me as an adult who's even written a book about mindset. I realized that I was allowing social media to tell me how to think.
Mm,
And I'm like, this is why, like, why do I have a negative opinion about this and I know nothing about it? And I was like, because I read that article, I read that post that somebody made. In 15 seconds, I've now become biased against something or someone that I know nothing about. And I say, you know what? That's where I stopped. So I held the mirror up to my face and I called myself out and was like, look what you're doing. You're doing the opposite of what you're teaching other people. So what are you going to do about it? So I had to get off social media so that I could really get back to myself.
oh my, hey now, back to me. I love
Back to me. Look, you see that full circle again?
it.
Don't play no games.
Check
Look, we
you
out
out.
here. We
You
out
better
here,
work
ain't
it out.
we?
I love it. Okay. So now, as you know, as I said, we're celebrating the Divine Nine. And on this platform, we're helping that transitioning student with their emotional navigation of college. And sororities and fraternities are going to be a part of that. And I just really wanted to bring you guys on and just really talk about how being a member of your organization, the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Hey,
Hey now,
shout out to the bros.
that's right. How it has served you in your life at this point.
So I pledged Alpha at Lemoyne on college. Shout out to Lemoyne. Shout out to HBCUs and Beta Xi when I was 19 years old in Memphis. I didn't know what I was getting myself into because I said I'm from the country, like rural. So only thing I knew about Greeks was from a different world. And Dwayne Wayne dropped lines. So I was like, I don't really know because Dwayne Wayne didn't do it. So pledging at Lemoyne and Beta Zaki was pledging back then, but it's initiating currently, so, when certain connotations of words happen, we want to shift and change and evolve. I was able to create a brotherhood. Like I have brothers. I'm the eighth of nine kids, but this was different. Like similar mindsets, similar career paths, and those relationships and the brotherhood that I found in Alpha helped me tremendously because when I graduated undergrad, I moved to LA 3 months after. And so I struggled for years, not only financially, but even just mentally, just trying to adjust to a totally different city, a totally different state, an industry, all three things that I knew nothing about. And it was my line brothers, who are my best friends, who were, first of all, they helped pay for headshots. They sent money for rent. And it was just that. And like, yo, if you ever need anything, like, I don't want to find out you're struggling and I can help. And so now we'll say it took me years to let that sink in because of ego, because of pride, because of all these different things that really challenged my mental health. And so it wasn't until I was like, you know what? I do believe they're being honest and sincere. And so that brotherhood, and just now from what it's done for me professionally, connecting with alphas all over the world. I travel a lot, especially internationally, and I meet alphas all over the world. And just to say, hey, I'm going to be in Paris this week. Bros that live in Paris, like, oh, great. So where are you staying? Do you need a ride from the airport? And like just introducing you around and just like to different cultures, job opportunities, speaking opportunities. And I love now that Black men are in a space where we're being honest. We're talking about mental health. We're talking about all the things that we were told men shouldn't talk about. We cry together. We talk about dreams and goals. When I even visit my line brothers, they got me babysitting their kids. You know, I'm kind of allergic to children. I'm like, I got plants. I don't know why y'all. They're like, oh, me and the wife gonna do date night. I said, okay, what does that mean? Oh, kids gonna be at the house with you. Now I didn't come visit y'all to babysit. And then they was like, "Well, Uncle Justin, we're gonna have so much fun." I was like, "Okay, let me see what's going on." I love my niece and nephew. But we talk about everything. And one thing that affects mental health is that we're quiet about it. So I'll say that I was depressed or I was anxious or I got anxiety. We talk about therapy now, like grown Black men from the South talking about our therapy sessions. Like that's growth, and that's how Alpha was a catalyst for me to meet men to actually move forward in that.
Wow, that's amazing story. And you had told me that because you travel so much that you are considered a member at large. Is that the title?
Yes, you're right. So I'm a member at large within Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So though I'm based in Los Angeles, I'm not affiliated with a chapter. So just a national organization. So I pay all my dues and all the things. I attend the national conference. And because I'm in LA, when I am in town, when I'm not traveling, like I will attend the Western Region Conference. And if I'm in the South, because that's where I pledge and where I'm from, I also attend the Southern Conference or, just meet with bros in different areas when I do travel, just to make sure that I'm updated with Alpha, the service, anything I can do to assist.
This is good. This is good to know. So for that student that may become a traveler, that this is also an option.
Yeah, and I think it's great. It keeps you affiliated with the organization and, and it still allows you to be connected while living your best life, if you will.
I love this. I love this. Ooh, Justin, this was good.
No, this was real good. I appreciate you. What you're doing, like, oh,
Thank you. Like you said, you surround yourself with great people.
full circle and back to me. I'm telling you, like this was
So grateful. So grateful. And I mean, hey, we're reconnecting. It's been a while, but hey, we picking back up where we left off. Like there's no time passed. So I loved it.
and that's how you know that our connection was so solid and genuine from the very beginning.
Mm. Well, man, continue blessings to you and everything you're doing. It's so great to see you just have such a respect for your family and where you come from, and you represent it in your platforms. I mean, it's amazing. It's powerful. So, just final words of encouragement. We always kind of like wrap up with this. And I'm just thinking of our audience and just, someone that may be in search of a path to a growth mindset or a path to really expanding and improving themselves. What kind of advice do you have?
I am going to give my favorite quote by Irma Bumbeck, and I believe it encompasses my entire life's ministry. And it is when I stand before God at the end of my life, I hope to not have a single bit of talent left so that I can say, I used everything you gave me.
Mm,
And I want to encourage others, use everything you have. Don't worry about people saying you're doing too much. Use every gift God has given you, whether it's speaking, dancing, cooking, writing, reading, working, service to others. Use it all.
woo, that gave me chills. Mm, Powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're amazing, Justin.
You're amazing too.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to be in touch with you real soon. I appreciate you being with us and keep soaring because we need you.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
All right. You take care of yourself.
You too. Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Consider becoming a mentor at your local elementary school. You just might save a young person's life. For more information about other episodes, remember to subscribe to the Back to Me podcast, College and Beyond. I'm your host, Yoli Tamu. Leave a review at the end of this podcast, and if you would like to learn more about other special events, join the Back to Me podcast Facebook group, or simply text Back to Me to 833-206-4565. Until next time, be well.
Back to me.